Have Kohler cv15s riding mower engine. Not getting spark with new coil installation. What wires feed engine 12V to bypass tractor wiring?
Do you know the model of your Kohler lawn mower? How old is it?
Model cv15s engine, age?
How long has this been going on with your Kohler lawn mower? What have you tried so far?
No pa.
Anything else we should know to help you best?
No spark at plug, replaced coil/plug wire. Engine cranks strong, known spark.
CV15 is Kohler command vertical. They are magneto ignition, feeding 12 volts to the coil will fry the coil, so you do not want to get 12 volts anywhere into that coil. It should fire a spark with no wires hooked to the coil at all. The one, usually green, wire that clips to a terminal on the coil is for grounding to shut off the engine. If air gap is set correctly to 0.012, between coil and flywheel magnet, and the ground wire unhooked from coil, cranking engine should get a spark that will jump a 1/4 of an inch gap to bare ground. If not, the coil is bad.
1/3. Hi, learned a lot from your answer. May have fried my new coil. Would like to check connector plug wires that go into engine also controlling fuel solenoid? 2/3. 4 wires into engine are red, black, white, and yellow. What is their correct function? I mess with wiring to get cranking with key switch now cranks. 3/3. Engine with key in crank position. Thanks, Ted.
Okay, what sort of machine does it fit on? Would you have the machine's brand and model number? Would you happen to have the engine spec number, CV15SXXXXXX? The 4X would be spec number on same label with model. With spec number, we can identify which charging system the engine has, since there'd typically be 2 white wires coming from under flywheel, charging system AC current to regulator. Red wire would be 12 volts output from charging, so it sounds kind of like you may be looking at tractor side harness connector. Any photos? There's a paper clip icon up above the text window to attach photos. Checking from the other side of things, what wire color is coming out of the fuel solenoid? Which wire color seems to connect to the coil? The solenoid wire would get 12 volts to operate the fuel solenoid. The black wire would likely be the ground for solenoid, so white may be the ignition shutoff wire. But I'd be able to provide better info with the engine spec number and tractor model/serial.
Hi, thanks for explaining situation. Sears model ## serial 051396D001119 engine spec 41525 will work on pics. Thanks. Ted. Engine name plate. Sorry, from HDTV, try again. Just took pic of wire harness into engine. Hope this helps. Ted.
Okay, you'll need to pull the top cover over coil to be sure of this, but I think white wire goes to the coil kill terminal on coil. The red wire goes across to the voltage regulator, on the other side, in a connector with 2 white wires either side of it, and the yellow wire will go to the carburetor fuel solenoid. Black would be ground return. You should have 0 volts on the white wire at any time, in any key position. If that is the case, the white wire should be ignition coil shutoff lead. You'd test coil with that unhooked from the coil, easier to monitor things with the top cover off, spark plug removed from engine, and grounded securely to bare metal engine block with plug wire connected to it. At that point, should be able to get spark with the engine cranking. If you do, the coil is okay, if not, the coil is bad. Next step will be when you can get spark in the above case, you would then make sure the white wire has 0 volts at any time, hook it to the coil, and retest for spark. If you get spark, then you should be good to go, and if not, then you have a safety switch problem, or a short to ground in that white wire somewhere in the harness.
Thank you for detailed response. I will be working on tractor on Monday morning and get back to you for follow-up. I ordered another coil to be received 2 halves, and Monday. We can check old coil first to see if I burned it out. We'll get back to you on Monday. Thanks, Ted.
Okay.
How are you? Waiting for new coil delivery. Confirmed white wire is going to coil terminal, kill switch? I have volt/ohm meter. How can I check if old C? 2 halves, oil is not fried?
Well, cannot really do a reliable test on coil with a DVOM, they either work or they don't. The internal transistors and electronics in the trigger circuit cannot be tested in any case. And it is those components that get blown out by the 12 volts being applied. However, you should be able to use the DVOM before putting in the new coil, and test the white ground wire while working the key switch, from off to on to start positions. You can disable starter from operating by disconnecting the battery cable from starter lug so it won't crank engine and catch any loose wires, and see if you ever get 12 volts through the white wire to coil at all. If you do, then you have a wiring problem to fix before putting in the new coil.
Sounds good. I will see if there is any voltage ever fed to white wire at any time by the key switch awaiting shipment of new coil. Thanks again for your help.
Okay. Welcome.
1/6. Good morning. While waiting for coil delivery, I checked power at harness between engine and tractor, first disconnecting battery cable from starter, no. 2/6. 4 key positions, off, lights, on, and crank. When in crank and starter connected, engine cranks WRLL and hear solenoid clicking sound. Now dosconnect S. 3/6. Tartar cable and check power with test light. Off equals no power at any wire, black, white, red, yellow, key positions, light on and tractor on and crank same are. 4/6. Results in all 3 positions. Red and black power, white and yellow no power. Remember, at tractor/engine harness connection, orange turns to yellow, blue T. 5/6 turns to red, red turns to black and black turns to white. Coil wire, let me know if I should try installing and starting tractor with new coil when iris. 6/6, othe. Business card gap for coil? Thanks. Ted.
Okay, sounds like your wiring should be correct. So test light does not show any power at white coil wire with key in any position, correct? Then it should be okay. It would be better to test with a voltmeter, DVOM, if you had one to monitor voltage on the white coil wire all the way through all switch positions. It is pretty rare, but bad key switches have been known to send a brief stray voltage to the coil ground wire that has been known to cause a coil failure. However, as I said, it is relatively rare thing to happen, so if you have only a test light to check for voltage and it never even flickers showing even brief power at the white coil wire as key is moved through all positions, then it should be good to go. And finally, yes, without a feeler gauge, 0.010. To check the air gap, a business card would be quite suitable to set coil air gap between coil legs and the magnets.
Hi, should get coil later today. Checked white coil wire through all key positions with voltmeter. No voltage in any key positions. What is function of othe? 2 halves are 3 wires, black, red, yellow, at engine harness?
Okay, one of them will go to the carburetor solenoid. That one will get 12 volts anytime key is on, lights or start. The other one will connect to the voltage regulator, the middle wire of 3 on voltage regulator connector, and will have 12 volts with key on. The fourth wire, I imagine, would have to be traced down to what it connects to, but may possibly be the stator brake, a section of the charging stator under flywheel that is energized to stop the engine's rotation faster, so it would only see 12 volts to it while engine is being shut down, if that is the case.
Half, hi, having shipment tracted, where is coil? Wondering, my old lawn mowers had coil and point/capacitor arrangement. What takes its place in the tractor? 2 halves. Also, is there a way of checking charging system so tractor battery stays charged?
Okay, well, on older models with points and condensers, they are replaced by electronic ignition that is built into the new coils. Basically, the points work as a switch to let a low voltage current that is generated by the flywheel magnet passing by the coil armature legs, electromagnet, and when the switch, points, snaps open, it causes the low voltage field to collapse, which by way of transformer action, number of windings around an electromagnet, causes the high voltage to be built up in the secondary, spark plug side. With electronic ignition, the points are replaced by an electronic transistor switch that is triggered to open when the voltage polarity is reversed, caused by the movement of the flywheel magnet, which does the same job as the points used to do. Only problem with them is, stronger voltages such as from battery voltage can burn out the electronics, same as a power surge on your utility line can kill a computer or digital phone, etc., which is why people will buy surge suppressor outlet strips for their electronic equipment. As to checking the charging system, you would need a voltmeter, which you can test at the battery. Battery would show 12.4 to 12.8 volts when not running, and after you get it running, at full throttle, the battery voltage would be reading anywhere from 12.8 volts to 14.8 volts. As long as you are seeing more than 12.8 volts at battery when engine is running, the battery is being charged.
Good morning, never got coil from Amazon, virus problem? Thank you for excellent job. We'll give courtesy text to confirm success. Stop service thanks, Ted.
Okay.
Very disappointed. Installed new coil, bussiness card. Gap, clean flywheel magnets, connect white terminal lead, battery cranks engine, no spark. What next?
Check for spark with white terminal lead disconnected to make sure it is not a safety switch or ground short causing the problem. Make sure spark plug can actually show a spark. Do you have a running engine you can test spark plug on? And or use a screwdriver that can fit the tip into spark plug terminal. Use insulated handle to hold screwdriver shank about 1/4 of an inch or less away from a bare metal surface on the engine. See if a spark can jump from screwdriver shank to the bare metal. If you can get a spark from it with white wire disconnected, but not when it is hooked up, your kill circuit is shorted or bad safety switch, usually seat switch.
We'll follow your instructions. Thank you and relay results.
Okay, also, coil only goes on correctly one way, but it can be installed upside down. If all else fails, flip it over and retest.
Wow. Pulled off coil wire, cranked engine with spare spark plug grounded to engine, strong blue spark. Can I run new ground wire from Katie to coil direct and bypass safety lockouts for now? What key terminal would I connect to allowing engine to shut down on the off position?
There isn't really a way to connect direct to key switch without modifying existing wiring. You'd need to be able to unplug the terminal from the connector and wire in a new Packard terminal. Packard is the style of terminal they use, otherwise, would have to actually cut out the wires. If you are looking to do a temporary bypass, you might be better off with getting a toggle switch and run a wire from the coil to one side of the toggle. and other side of the on-off toggle wired to a good ground, but not directly to battery ground, until you are able to trace down the issue with the safety switches, probably seat switch.
Can I cut and splice wire coming out of key terminal block in off position going to white coil terminal, or will I lose proper ground with system wires disconnected? If this is not that simple, keeping key off position functioning, we'll use toggle setup you describe. Ground to engine or frame?
Yes, you should do a toggle. If you cut the wires to key switch, you'll have that much more of a mess when you get around to repairing the safety switches. If you just do the toggle switch, you'll also have the carburetor's afterfire solenoid working, so if the toggle does not work, the afterfire solenoid can also kill the engine, as long as solenoid is working correctly. And if the problem is simple as a bad seat switch, then you only need to replace seat switch to fix it, and then you can hook your shut-off wire back to the coil without a lot of other wiring repairs to do.
Good morning, hooking up kill switch. Start procedure, leave switch from coil open, no grounding, operate key normal to start. Is shut down sync. 2 halves, using both key and kill switch?
I would turn off key switch first, then the kill switch right after.
My technician was excellent. Answered all questions very clearly in short response time. I highly recommend anyone to take advantage of this terrific service. Thank you for all your help. The mower starts instantly, runs strong, and shuts off clean. Great job, Ted.
Excellent, glad to hear you got it going.
Top rating, 5. Good job helping me. 5 stats, good job helping me. Engine runs great using kill switch. Ready to cut grass.
If you have a home improvement or appliance question and want to chat with an expert now, visit justanswer.com/ythi.